Hey everyone, welcome back to the range. My name is Matt, also known as the King of Armor Destruction and the Armor Wizard Zap Zap. We have an armor test for you all today. Formerly known as AR500 Armor, they have rebranded themselves as Armor Republic. I think they did this a few years ago. You can kind of use both names interchangeably, but we have an armor test for them today. This is their new A3 hybrid plate. This guy is single curve. From what they've told me, this is kind of their competitor to the Hesco L210. It weighs 4.7 pounds, approximately 730 thousandths thick, or 18.54 millimeters for those guys across the pond. As I mentioned, the A3 plate is a brand new offering from Armored Republic. What makes this plate unique is it is actually a hybrid plate. It has an alloy strike face. They didn't tell me what the type of steel or hardness was, but we'll try to run a test ourselves so that we just have that information. But behind that alloy is our ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, or PE for short, and they also have some Kevlar aramid fibers in the front of that alloy strike face to act as a fragmentation or spall guard. Now, over here on my channel, if this is the first time you're viewing this, I do things very differently than a majority, or in fact, all the other YouTube channels. I try to give you guys worst case scenario. So I shoot at 45 feet. That is the NIJ testing distance for rifle armor. I also shoot at 0 degrees because, again, that's worst case scenario. We have a Pro Chrono PAL Digital DOX. We got to record that velocity of some of these rounds that this plate is rated for. So we know if this plate stops M193 going 3150 feet per second from a 16-inch barrel. Any kind of longer engagement at 50 to 100 yards with or shorter barrel length would stop it. We also use a giant clay briefcase that you see right here filled with Roma Plastilina, #1 clay donated by Chavant. This acts as a compressible media for the armor to be up against. Now, we're out here on my property. It's 80 degrees outside today, but this clay has to be heated to about 100 to 103 degrees, and you drop a 22 millimeter steel ball, I think it's 6 feet, and you measure the indentation, and if it's within an acceptable range of 19 to 22 millimeters, then the clay is certified to provide you with accurate backface measurements. I can't give you that out here, so we're just using it as a representation. Again, worst case scenario, maximum energy transfer on this particular plate. Seeing how this is a hybrid plate and it's made up of multiple different components, I went ahead and performed an NIJ drop test on all 4 plates. That's where we drop it on its face 2 times with a rig. I put a spreadsheet here at the beginning that I kind of foreshadow all the different rounds that I'm going to shoot at it, and then at the end we fill it out and verify all of our penetrations. In full transparency, Armored Republic sent us all these plates for me to demo and provide you guys with feedback on. Since we have an ample amount of these plates, we're going to start right with the NIJ threat of level 3, which is M80 ball. It's a 150, 145 grain full metal jacket. Sometimes the jackets are bimetal. The velocity is 2750. We have a 24-inch Savage Axis 110 tactical left-hand eject. Got the Yankee Hill Phantom M2 up there. Now, with this gun, we've been seeing well over the velocity spec, 29 to almost 3,000 feet per second with this. Armored Republic did tell me that they actually exceeded the capabilities of an NIJ lab for M80 ball for the V50 velocity because of the safety standards of 308 here. So depending on how this goes, we've brought the 300 Wind Chad with us today. So we've got some just Poonsang M80 ball surplus here. We're going to take 6 shots on this first plate and see how it's going to do. Myself, I'm more concerned with any fragmentation coming off the sides and top of the plate. We will see that if it happens, evidenced on the table, because I have a good side of it down there. That's always the downside of how alloy strike faces destroy this bullet compared to a ceramic. So this should be the upper right of the plate. We did get velocity. Well, it was more of the middle right, but whatever, close enough. So this will be, or left, this will be on the right-hand side. This will be back to the left. I'm going to place this one right smack dab in the middle. There goes our fancy label. This will be in the lower right. This should be the last one. I'm going to try on the right side between shots here and see what we get. All right, that's all 6. Let's go see what we did. So typically with any alloy strike face, plate, or even ceramic, the bottom of our table is going to get torn up when fragments actually come out of it. It's worse with alloy plates because, like I said, when the bullet is destroyed, it's causing it to fragment and it spreads that out, versus a ceramic plate where it actually, the ceramic breaks up the projectile. So we're not seeing any in our table. Some of this discoloration right here is from tests the prior day. Come on, Gimbal. I see the back side of the plate is broken, but this front side where we normally see that fragmentation, nothing. So that's a good thing. We can see that we're using an aramid Kevlar type fiber on the front of it. I'll admit when I'm wrong. I watched some other people's YouTube videos of this test, and I thought this particular line right here was where it actually broke free, and that's just I think a manufacturing line. So let's peel this off here and see what it looks like. Well, at least the good thing about this strike face is I can actually detect all of my hits. Shots number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Those are all fair hits. And the nice thing, like I said, with all these plates is we can put lots of hits on all these different things. Here is our alloy strike face. We'll try to get a measurement on that today when we do a tear down. Place those bets in the comments below. Oh! Uh-oh, folks. We have one pass through on our last shot. That could be because of either the polyethylene in the back being bunched up, and then but 5 out of 6 at an increased velocity. Not going to complain about that. We have tested some other steel prior that couldn't stop that bullet at that higher velocity. I'm just going to take that off there real quick. We've got a paper back here. Oh, there's a little bit of foam. Interesting. Now, as far as our back face goes, the clay is warm, but it's not to temperature. So again, these are just representations. But we're looking at about 21 millimeters on that shot right there. And on this shot down here, 23. The reports that I got from Armored Republic showed, again, the back face on this was more than acceptable. Let's see how this holds up to 300 wind chad when we get there. All right, ladies and gents, we brought out the full house. With an alloy strike face, our #1 enemy is always M193, especially at velocities over 3,100 feet per second. That's why the NIJ 07 is calling for 3250 for our RF1 threat. So I brought out our TC compass. This is our 22-inch 1-in-9 twist. Got the Turbo 556 suppressor on there. Got the new Primary Arms SLX 4-16 by 44 first focal plane. And check out this guy. We've got M193, that's our 55 grain full metal jacket. We have M855, that is the 62 grain with the conical steel penetrating tip. And I've got a specialty, because there's a lot of internet myths that say speed kills armor. Well, there's a lot that goes into it besides speed. I've got SS190 from 5.7, that's a 31 grain with a conical steel penetrator, identical to M855, but has an aluminum core. So it should be going pretty darn fast. I'm hoping at least 3,800 feet per second. The only question will be, what is the offset going to be? Don't worry, we'll break out the M855A1 next. We still have 2 more plates if we need them. Got 10 rounds of 5.56. Actual 5.56. This is Independence M193, so getting cooking velocities today. If my offset is right, this should be on the top of the plate. 3436. And this will be right next to it. And then we're just going to put these all on the line, guys. I think my record is like 3,500 feet per second for M193, but it was like 95 degrees outside that day. Now we're on to the M855. Oh, I can't see where my dot's at, guys. This should be right on the word on strike. And this should be on the word face, on the E. Now we're on to the SS190. I don't know where this is going to hit. We're going to hope that it's where I want it. 3620, little slow there, but it was where I wanted it. And then this will be back on the left. Oop, that was an edge shot, guys. Sorry about that. Now we brought out our spicy boys, M855A1. This is the Army's current issue ball round on all levels of standard, ammunition deployment. Even the guys in basic are using this. It's a 62 grain copper core. The tip is much larger and harder, 59 to 60 RHC, whereas the M855 was 49 to 53, depending on which manufacturer. I have a 14.5-inch upper. This is from Pro 2A Tactical. I'm doing a review on this. I needed extra barrel lengths, and they were more than happy to help me get some. So far, so good. I think the only complaint is I had to put an adjustable gas block on it because the barrel manufacturer made the gas port too large. I think it's 81 thousandths, and I was over-gassed. I put a scope on here today so we know what our offsets are, hopefully. This one will be on the 3rd row. Yep, and then this one will be right next to it. And then the 4th row. All right. We got a lot of shots on this plate, folks. M193 number 1, 2, 3, and 4. M855 number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then our SS190 was right here, and then the second one was over here. That is not a fair hit in the NIJ size because that's about an inch from the edge. 2 inches is the minimum, 3 inches sometimes. Then our A1 shots, number 1. Number 2 right there, that was not a fair hit. It's close, but we won't count that if it, whatever. And then shots number 3 was right there, and 4. So those were definitely fair hits. R.A.N.G.E. We have penetrations on all 4 rounds of our M855A1, but everything else stopped. Even our unfair hit of SS190 over here stopped. Back face, there's just little tiny baby dimples in here. We're seeing no fragmentation coming out the side here or the bottom. We're getting some splitting here. We'll do a tear down at the end because this is a hybrid plate made up of multiple components, and I do have some advice for improvements. But I gotta say, for an alloy strike face plate, that's very impressive. Now I know another company is doing a similar technology using, I think, titanium as a strike face, and then they've got polyethylene behind it. So we stepped down to our 10.5-inch before we move on to a couple more unique threats. So we'll take 3 more shots of that. This is just a 10.5-inch SBR, Turbo 5.56 can. Still have the primary arms scope up top, so I actually can see what I'm doing. In an actual NIST, they got a universal receiver with a laser on it, so they know where they're hitting. I've got a little more difficulty here. So this should be the upper left dot if my offsets are right. And they were. Nice. And then for good measure, we'll put this all the way in the bottom. Nice. Okay. I talked this caliber up quite a bit, but now we've got our 300 Win Chad. Now I don't have the armor piercing threats that I load up in this today because this plate isn't really designed for AP threats. But given, like I mentioned earlier on, they couldn't find a V50 for our M80 ball, I've got a 150 grain jacketed soft point. We should see over 3,200 feet per second for this. I'm going to place 2 shots on this plate, and I think after that we're probably going to call it because I'm running out of ammunition that I could throw at this without just throwing, you know, some M993 at it. We have a 24-inch TC compass, got the Yankee Hill Phantom M2 there, a Diamondback Tactical Vortex scope. It doesn't have a parallax adjustment on it, but all right. So this one should be on the left of the plate, somewhere about where the strike face logo is. 32.21. Good velocity off that guy. And then I'll place this one directly to the right of it. Good velocity. I had to dig through my ammo can to find these threats, and these are definitely overkill based on our other threat profiles from M855A1. But you know, I got to live up to that king of armor destruction, and we got to poke some holes in this. So what do I have here? A 13-inch SCAR 17S pistol. Don't worry, the factory warranty has been long voided by going this route. We got our Yankee Hill Phantom M2 up front, and our 2 threats. M80A1, that is the Army's current issue ball round in 7.62 NATO. It has a large arrowhead tip and copper core, just like M855A1. Now, the hardness on that is only in the 4950 scale. Then I have M14A1, that's originally a 30-06 load, armor piercing incendiary. Got a lot of incendiary compound in there. I love that flash on here. These probably will penetrate, but let's see what we get. So the API will be first. That will be upper middle of the plate. I think, yeah, it looks like there. And then this one, the M80A1 will be down where it says like torque test and drop test. Oh. Did we not get that to cycle? Oh, I actually didn't have the magazine all the way in there, folks. You know, that helps. All right, resuming shooting. 27.54, amazing from a 130 grain out of such a short barrel.
So much fire, so satisfying.
All right, we've got all of our ducks in a row. Our 10.5-inch M855A1 shot number 1, 2, and 3. Our 300 Win Mag shots number 1 and 2. Our API shot was right there. That's pretty close to 2 inches. I don't know about that one. And then our M80A1 was down here. I would definitely consider that a fair hit. The alloy strike face, for the most part, is remaining intact. You know, when you shoot over here, you're not getting a crack over here, at least from what we can see from the get-go. Helper hand, place those bets in the comments below. The plate already fell. R.A.N.G.E. Oh my God. So our 300 Win Mag penetrated. Our M80A1 penetrated. Our first shot of M855A1 penetrated, as well as the API. Now it looks like from the API it actually had to work to get that out of there, but you can see it actually burned the back of the plate. All right, I think these results are very impressive. Let's tear these guys down.
There we go.
Now for a lot of people's favorite part of these tests, demos I do, is the teardown, where, you know, we can't identify with 100% certainty all the components inside here, but this just gives you an insight into the guts and the technology that's used to stop bullets. So this is plate number 3. We've got some kind of really lightweight foam, almost paper on the back. Not sure, it would probably increase the density of that, or maybe not include it at all. Now this is a cool thing I've mentioned about construction and keeping the plate together, is we've got our Kevlar aramid fibers here, and it's like an envelope. Here's the strike face. This folds over the top and then like this, and it's got some adhesive that keeps it together, and this allows the strike face and the polyethylene to stay together as long as possible so the layers aren't separating. In my opinion, now we didn't get any fragmentation. Like I said, look at the sides. There's nothing coming out the sides. I would probably wrap around this way as well, but at least from the get-go, it doesn't seem necessary. Look at the burn from the API. Here's our strike face. It's very thin at only 110 thousandths thick. I'll have to annotate below what the material PMI says on it and its hardness, although AR500 Armor might yell at me for that. We've got adhesive on the back. That's a good thing. Again, that API, I love that stuff. Need to get some more of it. Our confirmed penetrations on plate number 3 were shots number 1 and 3 of M855A1, our 300 Win Mag, the M80A1, and the API. This is, I think, Spectra Shield maybe? It is polyethylene, ultra high molecular weight. It does appear to be pressed. See how well that it's actually keeping its shape. We're not able to sit here and basically thumb through it like a book. I mean, when you get a lot of energy on here, it starts to separate, but impressive. And then plate number 2, same construction. Let's see, as far as penetrations go, just got those M855A1s on there. Otherwise, nothing else. We actually did crack the plate over here with that SS190 that hit on the edge, but because of glues and adhesives that we're using with this Kevlar, it actually stayed intact. And then plate number 1 was the M80 ball, the 6 shots of that. That was our only penetration right there. We're 2 inches from there. My recommendation, based on how thin this plate would be maybe to add 1/8 of an inch more of polyethylene in the back. And otherwise, I'm impressed with how well that this mitigated fragmentation off to the sides, because that's always been the crux of any kind of alloy strike face, is the bullets, when they get broke up, they spray to the side. I think I'm blown away with the performance of our A3 plate from AR500 Armor. If I had to give my honest opinion on its performance, I would say this is a solid RF2 offering for the upcoming NIJ 07 standards. We stopped our M193 and M855 without any issues. We stopped 5 out of those 6 rounds of M80 ball. We were above the specification for velocity wise, but the back face was very minimal. There's a lot of people who don't like steel, and that hate towards it is justified based on what current steel offerings does when it actually stops that projectile. Like I said, it shoots that fragmentation of that bullet out to the side, and if the coating is not there, those fragments can cut you in the arms, neck, or other parts of your body. With that construction of that plate, we weren't seeing any fragmentation whatsoever. Now, the reason for that is because the strike face isn't meant to completely stop the bullet, it's designed to break apart. What I see here is good adhesion properties on all accounts. We've got a pressed PE backer, we have adhesive between that and the alloy strike face. Then we further have that aramid fiber or Kevlar envelope that folds over the top of it that has adhesive. In conversation, Armored Republic did say they are going to have this plate NIJ certified. So essentially that means it appears on a list on the NIJ website, and that means it's gone through all sorts of rigorous testing. A lot of it is logistics and, you know, where the material is sourced from. Is it the same source and same thickness and weights and all those different types of quality assurances that make up a product, and plate number 1 has to be the exact same as plate number 10,000, and then there's follow-up testing and inspection to ensure that if, you know, they claim that that stops M193 going 3,300 feet per second, plate number 10,000 has to stop that as well. After this demo, I can think of two downsides for this plate. Number one, that it is only offered in single curve. If you're a build type like me, you do usually favor more comfortable multi-curve plates, but I'm sure they can find a way to make that multi-curve. And number two is the cost. It does run you more than any other steel plate and as much as most other polyethylene plates or ceramic offerings. It's time for me to make like a treat and leaf. I actually recorded this on Labor Day. My wife was kind enough to let me come out here and do this. But at the end of all my videos, I take a moment to thank all those who helped make these possible. Number one is my Patreon and Subscribe Star fans. I got a link tree in the description below. Essentially, those are different ways to contact me, or there's affiliate links in there, you know, for the Gators eyewear or the Axel Ear Pro, or even with AR500 armor. I have a affiliate link in the description that costs you nothing, and it essentially just earns me a sales credit. I try to be a little different than others. I'm not trying to push you towards a sale. I'm just giving you guys information. So if you were going to make that purchase and you want to help me out, because the cost of ammunition to do some of this stuff is insanely high, and our YouTube AdSense revenue doesn't usually quite cover that. Number two is Armor Republic, who again, in full transparency, provided me with these A3 plates to demo with no strings attached. They gave me a little brief summary of different threats that these plates are rated to stop, and we kind of threw some of that out the window, but we showed that this plate was fully capable of doing all kinds of cool things. And of course, number three is you all for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you at the range.